I thought I was going to be done with this, but then they actually had to bring in the lawyers in. Just cue it. So technically this isn't the first time that these sort of two sides have clashed. So let's catch up and see what the prelude is to this specific event. So back in 2022, during obviously one of the worst seasons the West Tigers have ever had, there was a lot of discussion from this WestsLife podcast about questioning the board and the people in charge, to the point where one of the members, Rob, sent a letter to the West Tigers chairman, Lee Hagipantelis, to appear on the show so they can kind of come to some form of like understanding of like what's going on and what they're being done to improve. So the transcript from this letter, this is from Rob's message to Lee. Good morning, Lee. I hope you received this text well. I heard your radio interview on 2GB yesterday and you mentioned you were happy to receive emails from 400,000 fans should they wish. As co-host of the WestsLife Podcast, I can save you some time as we are the most listened to single team podcast in the country. That includes US sports. We get over 3,000 downloads a week and that's without listens, and we aren't even able to quantify some of the carriers. So it can reach an enormous amount of West Tigers fans. Would you be interested in being our guest either Tuesday or Thursday at 8:30 to answer questions on all things relating to the West Tigers? You'll be treated with the utmost respect, even though personally I am not a fan of our front office. I haven't been happy with our media treatment, and we had Sydney Morning Herald reporter Michael Chamas on our show recently and he thanked me for how respectful we were. I look forward to your response and I hope you can find the time to give the West Tigers fans the answers that they crave. Kind regards, Rob Bacara. And this is a response Lee had to it. Hello Rob, I have your text. I assume it was sent in jest. What could possibly convince me to go on your podcast given the vitriol and abuse you have directed to the West Tigers in general, but to individuals within our organisation in particular? How can you call yourself a fan of the club is difficult to understand. You do nothing but criticise. I have never seen you post anything positive about the club. We are not immune to legitimate criticism, but the venom of which you spew forth your abuse is disconcerting, if not disgraceful. You assert that you speak with authority, often quoting sources within the organisation, and then go on to complain about leaks from the club. Not hypocritical? And what authority or experience do you have to express what you assert is to be facts as opposed to your own opinions? And of course you're perfectly entitled to your opinion, but it carries no weight whatsoever. It may have been because you've not committed to become a member and put your money where your mouth is. You don't even do that. Coming on your podcast would do no more than endorse it and give it legitimacy, something I have no interest in. Your publishing of my email address inviting fans to contact me, I'd assume, was some attempt to inconvenience or intimidate. It has failed. I received one email. I will happily answer all emails I receive from members as opposed to fans. I appreciate those who are prepared to financially commit to the club like I do, they say they support. As to your kind invitation to appear on your podcast, I decline so you can comfortably continue with venting your spleen, which obviously appease your need to be relevant. From my perspective, you are not of any utility to my role as chair or the club itself. If you're intending to reference this communication in your podcast, please ensure it is published in full. Regards. So, yeah, that is kind of things that has happened in terms of this is not a new sort of development, but it kind of sets the prefaces of Lee Hagipantelis not really liking the WestsLife podcast and, you know, questioning the loyalty of fans who criticize the club, especially if they're not members who put their money where their mouth is. Like, you could just imagine if any like type of CEO said that to like about a European club, say in football, they'd be outed straight away. Like, that is like, you don't do that. It's like, it's a really great way of really having your the fans of the club that you run, turn on you and want your head. So with that, we can now go into what has recently happened. So on the latest podcast, they were talking about Hagipantelis and stuff like that. Bacara says that he should drop a bombshell, and this is basically what the transcript is. This is from the Sydney Morning Herald, so I don't know if this is completely accurate, but this is what was said. It's actually quite embarrassing for Hagipantelis, but rather funny. When things were turning sour with Mitchell Moses, he was so desperate to get Mitchell Moses to the club that he actually told Mitchell Moses that if he signed with the West Tigers, he will pick him up every day in his Ferrari and drive him to Concord. Josh Barnett then responds, is he 16 years old? That's actually really creepy. Did he have a Chupa Chup in his hand for him as well? I mean, Jesus Christ. Remember this line because this is what's going to get brought up later. And then Bakara responded saying that might have actually turned him off signing. If that's how we conduct our negotiation, if that's how we really do it in the business, would Lee have gone up to a girl when he was single and said, would you please, pretty please go out with me? Please, and got on his knees. Like, seriously, man, there are right ways and wrong ways to go about things, but offering a player a lift in your Ferrari every day, maybe it would have been better if you said you could have my Ferrari for 9 months to drive you to training. But to say, I'll pick you up in it, like, seriously, who the do you think you are? And it's because of those comments, Lee Hagipantelis sent a letter telling him to apologise or he's going to threaten legal action for defamation. So from what was said, the technical line of what was brought up is the Chupa Chup line. Basically, it's like lollipop, something along those lines. Basically, kind of like degrees from separation, basically saying that the WestsLife Podcast are alluding to him being a nonce. Which, if they outright called him that, that is 100% fair enough, like, and that is defamation and that can legally happen. But it's kind of hard when it comes to defamation, specifically in the thing where it's like alluding to it, because if there's like serious implications, it's like, read between the lines or where there's smoke, there's fire, then yep, fair enough. But it's like, it's not like anything was said. It's like, if he said something like, oh, you want some candy, get in my car, then yep, that's like, it's not outright saying that, but it's obviously reading between the lines. But that's not really anywhere near it, personally, in my opinion, because I've kind of looked into some form of defamation law, but the problem is with defamation law and kind of like free speech in Australia is we technically don't have it. Like, it's not like in the United States where they've got like, the First Amendment and it's like, you can say whatever you want. Oh, it's definitely not like that, but along those lines. But it gives people who are in power like enough chance to go to little guy and say, basically, I'll threaten to sue you unless you apologise, which I should state, WestsLife Podcast did make a statement on their Facebook saying, in our previous episode, we made inappropriate comments and jokes about a rumour involving West Tigers chairman Lee Hagipantelis. We withdraw those comments and apologise to Mr. Hagipantelis for any imputations, hurt or embarrassment that these comments have caused. We've also made a public apology early in our latest episode in our review of the Dolphins win, which airs tonight. So, and also apparently one of the things is technically, Hagipantelis wasn't a part of the negotiations to bring Moses to the Tigers, but that's really about it. But here's the thing. The reason he was probably able to get like proper legal letters and stuff like that is because being the CEO of the Tigers isn't Lee Hagipantelis' first job. He is the principal of Bryan Lawyers, who are also one of the main sponsors for the Tigers. So he technically is one of the head honchos for a massive law firm. So he's kind of like in power to just like, you send the legal letter or whatever. But the problem is though, in these kinds of situations, it's really just like, none of these really do go to court. And if the WestsLife decided like, yeah, we're going to take it to court, they're going to have to fork out like thousands upon thousands of dollars. And they've got to go up against, the absolute might of like the principal of an actual law firm who's got availability to all the lawyers under and their legal advice in their company. So it's just, it makes sense that they have to apologize and backtrack, but it's kind of just, it's unfortunate, but they kind of had to do it because it's basically f***ed if you do, f***ed if you don't. So it's like, if they say no, then they've conceded, even though it's not really much that they've really said, but can, in an extended line, be labelled as potentially, defamatory. But if they do and want to fight it, technically they would win because I think the case would be dropped, but then they'd have to fork out thousands upon thousands of dollars for legal because technically though, because when it comes to civil court, because it's not a criminal offence, so it's not like Hagipantelis, if this does go to court, Hagipantelis can't just put the producers in jail, like there would be suing him for damages. So it would just cost a whole lot of money, and WestsLife did the right thing, even though technically I think they're in the right, but you can't do anything about that. But yeah, that's basically everything. I just think Hagipantelis is needs to kind of chill out, because apparently I've heard in some of the comment section of this video, apparently this isn't the first time he's threatened legal action on people who criticize him, so he's got a bit of a thorn in his side. A few thorns, probably. For legal reasons, that was satire. I don't want to get sued. Because if I saw a legal letter, I'd be like, let's go to court. But in all seriousness, I just think it's an unfortunate situation for WestsLife. They did the right thing and just conceded, but it's not really, if anything, I think the actions that Hagipantelis has done in terms of responding to this is actually kind of more defamatory to his career rather than the comments, but that's just me. Thank you all very much for watching. This is probably going to be a significantly longer video, so if you did enjoy, please leave a like, subscribe, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. And hopefully, there's no more of this for this season. I just want to relax, but knowing the way this is going, it probably won't.